Hi everyone, my name is Carl Alviani. I'm a design writer and I'm here to speak on behalf of polymers. So this story starts about 10 years ago. I walked into a camera store in downtown Manhattan looking for my first ever fully manual SLR, and the sales guy plunked down two almost identical looking cameras in front of me. He said, this one on the left, metal body, probably been resold a dozen times. This one on the right, polycarbonate body, you drop it once, it's gone. I didn't know anything about plastics at the time, so it didn't occur to me to say, you know, polymers come in a lot of different flavors. Polycarbonate's a pretty badass one. It's what makes bulletproof glass bulletproof. All I said was, oh, that's the plastic one. I guess I'll take the metal one. And there's two important things about that exchange. The first is he identified the polymer by name, which nobody ever does. The second is, if he hadn't pointed it out, I probably wouldn't have known because it was painted to look almost exactly like the metal one. But underlying all of this, there was an assumption I made that most people make, which is the plastic version is the cheap substitute for the real version. And that's kind of a shame because the reality is most things that are made of plastic on purpose. And a lot of times they're selected kind of lovingly and very appropriately for maximum performance, maximum efficiency. I'll give you a great example. This is the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. It's going to be the most efficient jet passenger plane ever made. And that's because it's about 50 to 55% plastics and composites. See, one of the things about polymers is there are thousands of different kinds. They all have different characteristics. You can really fine-tune them. And also, because you're not hacking them or carving them or shaping them in any way, you're molding them, so you're only using the bare minimum necessary to get the job done. And that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing is that they're fantastically recyclable, at least the right ones are. A PET resin bottle that you buy water out of or soda, if you recycle it, you're saving 90% of the energy compared to making one virgin, as opposed to only 34 or 60% for some other materials. Now, there's a couple of reasons we don't like polymers. One is most of them are made of petroleum. Although that's becoming less and less the case, there are a lot of other alternatives. The other is that if they're used incorrectly, they pose toxicity problems, much like lead or mercury or a lot of other metals do. But we've figured out how to make sure that the right ones are used in the right places. See, the underlying problem here is we don't know how to differentiate nearly as well. I gave a friend of mine a test a couple of years ago. I said, 1 minute, name all the woods, metals, and plastics you can. She came up with 9 woods, 4 metals, 0 plastics. Because the problem is if you buy a mahogany dining set, it's made of mahogany, right? If you buy an acrylic wine glass, it's just made of plastic. So it's an imitative thing. There's a long history for why we see them as imitations, though, going all the way back to the early days. The very first plastic in 1862 was a substitute for ivory, so we didn't have to kill so many elephants. Rayon was originally artificial silk. Bakelite was artificial shellac, which you actually used to make by crushing beetles. But unlike a lot of these other things, Bakelite kind of turned a corner. See, it came out around the same time that we started making electrical appliances, and we didn't have preconceived notions of how those were supposed to work or how they were supposed to look. So things like phones and electric irons could look however we wanted. Bakelite was allowed to be Bakelite. And eventually it became a desirable material. People asked for it by name. Eventually they were making jewelry out of it. And it's not jewelry that looks like anything else. It looks like Bakelite. It ages, it scratches up, and we're okay with that. Similarly, you go into your toolbox, you dig out a screwdriver, chances are it's got a cellulosic acetate handle. This is made from wood, by the way. It gets all scratched up, and we don't see it as a downside. We don't try and hide it. We don't try and paint it. We've accepted it for what it is. One of the few examples we have today of an identifiable differentiable plastic is silicone. People ask for it by name, especially when they're looking for kitchen utensils or Livestrong bracelets or sex toys. The problem that those 3 polymers have in common, though, is all 3 of those are thermosets, not thermoplastics, which means they don't melt. They burn. You can't recycle them. But fortunately, there's a whole host of others, number 1 through 6. Those are all recyclable if only we could separate them out and differentiate them. So by contrast, this is the camera I used to replace that metal SLR. It's ABS. It's painted to look like metal. After 2 years, the paint wears off, and it looks busted, ready to throw out. And there's really no good reason for that. If we let the plastics be what they are, we wouldn't feel the need. Apple took a step in the right direction with the iPod. That's an acrylic double-shot face with a scratch-resistant coating on the face, but try finding that out from the Apple website. They won't tell you. And moreover, you can't take it apart and recycle it. Fortunately, there are a few bright spots heading in the right direction. This is the Emeco 111 chair. That's made out of recycled soda bottles. That's the Honda Element. Like it or not, you can pull off those panels, and you can recycle them because they're both thermoplastics. And I think these are both really important steps on the way toward eventually respecting polymers, which, if we're going to maximize their utility and minimize their disposability, is something we're all going to eventually have to do. Thank you.